On your favorite technology show this week, a new Range Rover which is compact yet stylish. Also, what on earth is Elon Musk doing at his startup Neuralink? And it's February, that means it's the big month for tech when it comes to Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. What can you expect? All that and a lot more on your favorite technology show. I'm your host Aayush Ailawadi and this is Tech Today. Well, my special guest was already in the spotlight. I'm here in the middle of the French countryside, driving to a very special location with a very special guest. It happens to be the new Range Rover Evoque. You're seeing it first on Tech Today. I'm your host Aayush Ailawadi, and I can tell you that a lot has changed on the outside, but even more has changed on the inside, be it design, be it tech. Well, the group JLR is now calling this a reductionist sort of design, but does that work when it comes to tech geeks like us and enthusiasts of this particular brand? Well, all that and a lot more on this special episode of Tech Today. All right, so we pulled over here on our way to Champagne, and what I can tell you is that you can take a moment and adore what they've done with the cabin of the new Range Rover Evoque. Look, it is reductionist, and that's what Jaguar Land Rover says as well, but you can see it in implementation. What I do like across the JLR lineup is something which is elementary, but a lot of automakers don't seem to get it right. I've always said this, and I will maintain it, PV Pro is perhaps one of the best things that happened to the automotive world. Everything seems to work out here. In 2 clicks, you can get to anything that you want. One thing that really doesn't necessarily work, maybe it's a signal to the future, is that there's no hard touch buttons in this Evoque. I miss them, but maybe I'm being old school. With Range Rover now announcing a fully electric car to come very soon, maybe this gives you a little bit of a crystal ball gazing moment into the future. But even then, one thing they have done to really work around that is give this car full Alexa integration. Now, if you look at the rest of the cabin, obviously PV Pro with this 11.4-inch screen, no buttons over here. A lot of it feels consistent across the lineup. Well, when we were on the highway, the heads-up display worked really well. It's giving you the speed limits as we speak. And of course, with navigation, we've not had any trouble whatsoever. Driver assistance shows up over here, and you have, well, speed limit warnings. You can go on high, custom, or low. You can also change the mode from here. So if you want to go into eco, comfort, dynamic, even off-road modes, it's all possible in the Evoque. It's a small car. It's a very stylish compact SUV, but it is capable of everything that a Land Rover comes with. All that promise continues with this particular Evoque. When you're talking about the seat height, I think in the front seat, it's a little deceptive because while it is much smaller than the rest of its brethren across the JLR lineup, you feel like you are in quite a high-seated SUV. At the back, it's a different story, I'd imagine, but in the front, it is a very commanding seat position, and it feels like you're driving a Velar. Commanding seat position, meridian sound all around, and very, very intuitive PV Pro. So it's all, well, green lights for the interiors of this particular car. But let's get back on the road, and I'll tell you a little bit more about ride quality. So a lot of the features that you associate with higher-end Range Rovers, maybe with the Velar or the full-size Range Rover, a lot of those features don't make it to the Evoque. Talk about active noise cancellation, an absolute technology marvel with those cars. Out here, like I said, it's not that insulated. The cabin, you can hear a lot of the sounds while you're enjoying the sights outside. You can also hear a lot. I don't know if that's necessarily a good thing, especially in the city. But there are a bunch of features which have made it to this particular vehicle, and they are an upgrade from the previous rendition. Well, pixel LEDs, right? It really helps in terms of driving at night and especially on the highway. So there's a bunch of them that have made it, some of them that have not. But the one good thing is with this new design philosophy and the tech right here, PV Pro makes it a very consistent, reassuring experience with the Range Rover Evoque as well. Even though the youngest sibling doesn't have some of those bells and whistles, it has the bare minimum and gets the job done. As do the new iPhone 15s with their action mode and all the cool stuff happening with the lenses. But I can tell you this, where in the middle of countryside Europe, with better roads, but sometimes you can feel some of the bumps, and that actually gives you a great feeling of the rugged outdoors. But I don't know if that is a deliberate thing. Does that change when the India variant comes through? At this point, all I can tell you is thank you for stabilization, because you can feel a few of the bumps. I don't know if that changes with some of the modes right here, and I'll show you some of them as soon as we take this turn. That is very, very reassuring. The minute you do click on any of these, you have comfort, eco, dynamic, and obviously the ride quality changes. There are 20-inch wheels on this one. You could upgrade all the way up to 21. That also, I would imagine, is a key factor with some of the things that I just mentioned about the ride quality in the Range Rover Evoque. Well, it is very reassuring being sat here in the front seat of the new Evoque, because the car responds to you exactly like you want it to. All of this tech really helps as well. Another bit, apart from the Meridian sound, which is absolutely mind-boggling, is this particular rear view camera. Now, the camera at the back, you've seen this in a lot of cars. We've seen Indian manufacturers also doing this, but I've always said this about Range Rovers: the quality of this camera is something that smartphone manufacturers can actually draw a leaf out of this particular playbook, because it is almost 4K. I can adjust the brightness right here. I can see the guy who wants to overtake me right now because I'm shooting this as well. And you can also adjust the brightness and the zoom and exactly how you want this to move up or down. So I think it's a fairly good job with the implementation of this camera. And of course, you have the 3D cameras out here as well. We're going to tell you a lot more about these tech specs when we pull over right up ahead. So all the modes are right here, 4x4i info as well. This, of course, is an Evoque, but it has those off-roading capabilities. It comes with weight sensing as well. I can imagine in Mumbai monsoons, this is something that will come very much in handy, even though this is a much more compact package. Of course, a bunch of shortcuts over here. Navigation comes in handy on the route we're on. Obviously, you have all your connected music features as well. You can also use Android Auto or wireless Apple CarPlay. And then when you're talking about the cameras, well, this is something that Range Rover really excels in. You have 3D cameras. They get every angle spot on, this 3D representation of this particular car. And that's not all. Later on, I'm also going to show you how having this 3D rear view camera also helps. But you can imagine with this representation on road and off road, well, this comes in handy as well. All right, just like all the other Range Rovers, it's the perfect placement of the gear system here. And then press to reveal, no buttons, so it's very, very minimal and reductionist, but still sleek and stylish. And of course, wireless charging over here. I'm not quite sure if it comes with boosters. In the higher end Range Rovers, your signal gets boosted out there. You also have USB-C connectivity and a little bit of storage here as well, maybe for this fine woven wallet. There you go. It takes a couple of seconds to start charging, but when it does, I think it's the perfect placement. Well, plenty of storage for cups and saucers and whatnot. And of course, your morning cuppa, so you're covered, of course, over here. Is there a fridge? The moment of truth. No, not a fridge, but enough storage and USB-C connectivity. But very consistent across the Range Rover lineup now. All right, obviously you have all the controls you need right over here. A projection right up over there of your navigation system. You can change things around if you want to. Again, very intuitive touch. And then you can obviously use ADAS features and the speed limiter, cruise control, volume control is right here. Nice click, and these are the buttons you sort of miss in the center console. But here, again, very Range Rover-esque, and honestly, it gets the job done. Another nifty feature in the Range Rover Evoque happens to be this video camera at the back. Crystal clear. I think a lot of smartphone manufacturers need to learn from JLR when it comes to these shots. You can see people moving around. They're very, very helpful on the highway as well. And then again, if you think this is not your cup of tea, well then we got coffee as well. Well, it's been a fun day shooting with the Range Rover Evoque. Honestly, there's a lot that's changed on the inside and of course on the outside. It looks very Range Rover-esque, all those additions in terms of what they've done with the badging, with the wheels, the colors, it all seems to work. This was obviously not the same testing conditions that we have when we get this car in India. very, very good roads throughout the highway, the city, and even in the middle of the French countryside. But all the tech inside the car has helped us through the process. If you talk about weight sensing, that's something which will come in handy, especially in Mumbai monsoons. We're going to test that as well. And the ride quality has been amazing. A lot has changed, but a lot hasn't as well. But so what we can tell you is that this is a nifty, improvement to the Range Rover Evoque. These were our first impressions, and you've seen them first on Tech Today, but a lot more coming across all our platforms. You know, Tech Today is a flagship multimedia product. We have the TV show, we have our digital videos, what we do on social media, and in print as well, and more importantly, what we do on the Tech Today website. That's techtoday.in. And one of the top performing stories this week is a groundbreaking development. Elon Musk's Neuralink startup has successfully installed a brain implant in its first human patient. Elon Musk says it really comes with promising initial results. That's what he tweeted. Now, this is a huge development in the field of neurotechnology. But what is Neuralink all about? How does this really work? And are other people doing this as well? We bring in the experts in this special report.
Imagine controlling your phone, your computer, and almost any device through that simply by thinking. This could potentially open up a world of possibilities, especially for those who have lost the use of their limbs and cannot move. Elon Musk has announced just that through his company called Neuralink. According to him, an implant has been installed in a human patient's brain, and the said patient is recovering well. The first product from Neuralink, aptly named as Telepathy, aims to change the way we interact with technology. Neuralink trial involves the use of a robot to precisely insert a brain-computer interface implant into a brain region associated with the movement intention. This tiny chip, which is roughly the size of 5 stacked coins, is inserted into the motor cortex via minimally invasive surgery and uses flexible threads to record neural activity. For those who don't know, the motor cortex is a region of the brain that plans, that controls, and executes voluntary movements. Since it does sound dangerous there, you should know that Neuralink got permission to test the chip on humans by the United States Food and Drug Regulatory Body. In May last year, the US FDA has given him permission to go ahead. Elon Musk's Neuralink initially focuses on helping paralyzed individuals who are immobile so that they can control devices just by their thoughts. Telepathy boasts broader ambitions. It promises wireless mind control of computers, of phones, and potentially even direct communication between brains, hence the telepathic moniker. This brain chip is definitely first of its kind and has already rattled the tech industry. Elon Musk is also excited about the product, explaining Stephen Hawking as one of his examples. Imagine if Stephen Hawking could communicate faster than a speed typist or an auctioneer. Well, that's the goal, he says. Since Musk has always dreamt big, he envisions a future where he can telepathically communicate, enhancing our brain power and maybe even play video games just by thinking about it. Well, it's like sci-fi fiction there, but Elon Musk indeed is turning it into reality. He's promised this project in 2017. It's now 2024. Let's see how long it takes. Concerns about safety and ethics and potential unintended consequences also loom large. It is definitely a fascinating product that could completely revolutionize society in the ways that we can only begin to fathom. Commercial deployment might take up to a decade, but until then, we, of course, at Tech Today, very closely tracking those developments.
Well, it's time for my favorite segment on the show where I get to answer all of your tech queries. Now, if you have any questions, you can always write into me on my social media handles. If it's something that I can answer on the go very quickly, I will always cater to your needs. And if it's something that can make an entire television segment and help millions of people, then it's even better. And that's why we have two very important questions that the team has highlighted for you. The first one comes from Dhaval saying, I'm thinking of buying the Ray-Ban smart glasses in Mumbai. Is it a value for money product? Now, this is a question that I really want to answer in a detailed way, but let me make it, as detailed and snappy as I can. I was in California a couple of weeks ago and everyone seemed to be buying the Ray-Ban Metas.
Honestly, if you go to a Ray-Ban store or any of those outlet malls, you will see that these are available. A normal pair of Ray-Ban Wayfarers costs you around $200. These ones start at $300. So for maybe 8,000-9,000 rupees more, you're getting tech-loaded Wayfarers. In terms of design, they are amazing. I use them. These are shots of me using the Ray-Ban Metas, and the rest of these shots are actually visuals that I have shot whilst I was wearing them. I think they're amazing for a POV or a point of view approach. Whatever I'm seeing, you can see as well. Meta AI seems like a half-baked product. It's not like ChatGPT. Basically, that's the same product that Mark Zuckerberg spoke about. Whatever you look at, like how Google does with Gemini, it will tell you what it's all about. It's not necessarily there yet. It might take a couple of years for them to get there. But it's interesting that it has that sort of functionality. But since you asked, Dhaval, this is not available. The product and the service is not available in India yet. That means Meta AI, of course, it doesn't work. Also, you don't get Ray-Ban Metas here in India at the Ray-Ban store. So it's not launched in India yet. That means no support. Most importantly, the app that you need to make all the magic happen doesn't open or download in India. So there's a bunch of hacks, of course, on Tech Today. We can tell you all about them, but I do not recommend any of them until this device is launched here in India. The video and the photo output was fairly decent. It has an ultra-wide camera with a fairly decent field of view. You're getting 12 megapixel shots and 1080p videos, but there's a catch. It's only for 60 seconds. So supposing I'm doing a 4-minute Ask Aayush segment, after 60 seconds, you will stop hearing what I am really talking about on that clip, and then a new clip will form. So that is something that they will have to enhance with subsequent editions of the Ray-Ban Metas, but for now, it is not available in India. It is a cool product if you want to toy around with it, and if you're traveling a lot, there are ways, of course, that you can make some of those features work. Meta AI, like I said, is not there yet, but it is innovation that we really appreciate. But I honestly think if you're investing so much money, $300 for the base model, then you have transition lenses, photochromatic, all that kind of stuff, another $100, $200. If you're putting that much money into a wearable, then it should be a finished product. And I think that's maybe a year or two in the making. The next question comes from Dr. Arun, who asks, what do you make of the Tesla Cybertruck? Now, this is another product which we don't think is coming to India anytime soon. Firstly, because we don't know anything about Tesla coming to India. And even if Tesla were ever to come to India, Mr. Elon Musk knows that India is not a country where pickup trucks really do well. That said, if it ever does come here, I can guarantee you that we'll see it here on Mumbai roads, and it is a thing of beauty because we saw it a couple of weeks ago in California. In fact, I saw a bunch of them on the roads, people coming and picking up their daily coffees in Cybertrucks. A lot of Tesla employees are driving them as well. Between $60,000 to $100,000 for the current model, which is available. So I walked in to a Tesla store in San Jose, California, and honestly, it is something gorgeous to look at. That said, people who have taken deliveries of the Cybertruck aren't necessarily happy with the product. Now, a bunch of streamers and customers have really come out on social media and spoken about a bunch of things which aren't necessarily what the marketing spiel really claimed when it comes to the Tesla Cybertruck. Firstly, all that talk about the Tesla Cybertruck being so much more powerful and faster than a Porsche, a lot of people who've been trying to race their Cybertrucks don't think that's necessarily the case. Also, it's been snowing all over the US, and in those sort of conditions, a lot of people have been complaining about their software not working the way it was intended to. Then there's the whole argument about range. Tesla had promised 300 or 320 miles on a single charge. Users are saying they're not even getting 200 miles. Is it the bad weather? Is it the fact that they're towing things, which obviously reduces the range drastically? So clearly there's a bunch of issues, maybe teething ones, with the Tesla Cybertruck. But when we saw it on the road, the pickup looked amazing. When I saw it in the store, massive wheels. Yes, there are millions of reservations and there's a long waiting period. I don't know if it's really 4 years because a lot of people seem to be very interested. Another complaint that's doing the rounds is the fact that the owner manual for that pickup truck comes with this whole clause on immediately removing corrosive substances, which is standard across all Teslas, but that means that it's not as rugged as it was made out to be. So if there's any sort of dead insects, or if we have any grease or dirt, that could really damage the body of the Cybertruck, which we thought was bulletproof. So there's a bunch of these teething issues, which I think will get better with subsequent models and updates and stuff like that. But honestly, if you look at that particular pickup truck, it is a thing of beauty. Let's hope that in practice and performance, it also catches up to that image, because there's been a lot of hype. We can only hope that there's a lot more substance, and at some point, we see it here on Indian roads. The Northern Lights, a natural light display in the Earth's sky, no tech involved. Maybe a bit of science and a lot to do with Mother Nature, but a timely reminder for us tech geeks that the most beautiful things and the most fascinating things in the world don't necessarily involve a lot of tech. Sometimes you got to disconnect from the tech and go to high latitude regions like this one, maybe somewhere in the Arctic, 200 kilometers above the Arctic, and maybe savor these sights in this cold weather. Who knows? You never say never. Even in the world of tech, while we are exploring one innovation at a time, we might end up over here. I've added this to my bucket list, and I'm guessing you would have as well. And I'm also hoping you've enjoyed watching this particular episode of Tech Today from the Tech Today studios. Do let us know on our social media handles what you made of this particular show. It brings me to the end of the show, where I have to say, until next week, this is Aayush Ailawadi saying adios.